Morning, everyone. I think, especially after a super session by chairman and where we kind of really went through multiple set of things. If I was to summarize core three set of things: products, processes, propositions, and a whole host of things which was spoken around it, right? So it was a session which was significantly energizing, and I would while the chairman is not here, chairman sir is not here. Once again, if you can have a great round of applause for the vision he has set for the industry. What I'm going to do, and I'm super excited to be here with all of you today, in context to the larger vision, which is the insurance for all for 2047. If you have to go about achieving it, there are few very critical things which you have to think about. That are we prepared as an industry to really walk that path, to hit the path that insurance for all by 2047 will be achieved. With very little experience which I hold, one of the most important things which we have realized that if we were to walk that path in a good enough way, what's going to be very important is the use of data in tech. And how do we use data in tech to really get to that level is something which will keep all of us significantly excited. And I'm sure that all of you, when we go through over the next 15 minutes in terms of how tech transformation, which is what everyone talks about it, digital transformation, everyone talks about it right now, eventually how it is kind of reshaping across in the industry, and is there real digital disruption which can come through, right? So with that note, I'll start the next set of slides. There's a very interesting quote, and we all know Bill Gates has put across: we are changing the world with technology. And we all know what happened with Microsoft initially coming to forth, and for everyone at a point in time where computers was something which you used to abandon, right? I remember I was growing up in Calcutta, and when the fact that computers was mandated to be introduced in the industry, a lot of people wanted to run away from it. There were dharnas and there were bunds which had happened because the industry didn't want to go that path. And now today, can we even kind of think about operating on a day-to-day life without use of computers and supercomputers? And many more such things which have kind of really pushed across. But as we progress, there is another interesting quote which says that you've got to start with consumer experience and work back towards the technology, not the other way around. So on one side, we have a quote which states that we're going to change the world with technology. And on the other side, we have a quote which says that we have to work back on technology, keeping consumer experience in mind. But if we kind of dig a little deeper, irrespective of the fact that which way you want to start, you want to start with consumer experiences and then curate the tech layer, or you want to say that, okay, I would want to think about some tech layer and then kind of curate the customer experience. What's very, very important to understand is that tech is going to be at the backbone of everything and anything which we are going to do from here on. As insurance companies, insurance providers, lot of times in boardrooms, in our meetings, we essentially say this very, very clearly, that we are a data and tech company which understands risk well. And given the fact that as a data and tech company which understands risk well, we are able to curate propositions to kind of really take it to the larger set of market. So in a way, irrespective of which industry you belong, whether you are from the insurance company, distribution fraternity, or any other player in the entire ecosystem, the adoption of data and tech is going to be very, very critical as we're going to really move forward. Some very important sort of examples in this entire tech journey which has happened over the years, and with even, I hope a lot of people recognize this was the initial sign-stroke logo of the Internet Explorer which Microsoft was using, and see how it has changed now. To the point, if we go through the journey where a few very good things have happened, which are really challenging status quo in a large enough way. We all drive vehicles, and autonomous vehicles is something which everyone is speaking about. Very recently, Elon Musk has also announced that the new autonomous vehicles, both on the private car as well as on the career side, which is commercial vehicles, is going to be launched very soon in the next 3 to 4 years. And everyone is going to wait for it. Can you imagine that there is going to be a vehicle where you're not going to have any steering, any brakes, any accelerator, and so on, right? Communication. We remember those days when India Post was super duper critical. We used to have letters being pushed across. Today, it's something which is super special if you get a letter coming from anyone else. And how we were extremely, extremely reliant on emails. And I can tell you very safely that most of the organization, Ravi is here, And I had an opportunity to work with him. One of the steps which he had taken in his earlier stint was so as to say that in an organization, do you really need an email at all? Right? So to that point, it was practice, and as we move forward, as we progress, we are seeing many, many such more examples kind of really unfolding. Right? Chat GPT. Honestly, today if we look across, a whole host of human intelligence is kind of now being borrowed intelligence, right? There is enough and more amount of effort which is gone in kind of building and curating these kind of tools. And today, if we have to really do anything, we just rely blindly on that. I can tell you, as a father of two young kids, over the last 2 months, I've been applying to many set of schools, and every school has a whole host of questions, right? एक समय होता था when we used to think that, okay, we need to think deeply, we need to identify what we need to answer. But today with these tools, right, you still think, but the response time is super fast. Something which used to take days, right, and weeks now can be done in a span of minutes and hours. So that's how technology is changing our day-to-day life. And if this is true in our individual own set of lives, it's going to be super critical for all of us, even in the insurance domain, given the fact that we specifically talk about insurance right now. What has happened in insurance if you look across, and the whole tech/data journey which we have all gone through. The era of 1999 to 2012, let's say take there about 10 to 12 years. We spoke about, and we were super happy when we were launching web applications, API services. At that point in time, we used to say that, okay, we are disrupting the industry by having kind of launched the API services. And today we all know that if any insurance company, any distributor, we don't have investments in this space, whether we can operate in itself or not, right? We spoke about e-commerce application because we saw through e-commerce companies come across. And it was completely changing the way consumers were consuming as well as kind of experiencing solutions across the industry. Now, as we move forward in the era of 2013 to 20, right, they became like house check hygiene kind of applications. And the industry started to speak about machine learning. There were machine learning algorithms that, okay, can we now have the intelligence being part of a daily process where every transaction which gets consumed, the machine learns from it and eventually improves some of the solution. We spoke and we kind of really talked a lot about cloud technology, which initially started to operate on concept of you moving from a fixed infrastructure to a variable infrastructure and had its component around cost, security, and so on, right? We spoke about IoT, the Internet of all times, right? And the devices which we were using across, how could we monitor the number of steps we are talking? How could we integrate that back into, let's say, a health insurance policy and understand if we are going to really have a healthy customer as part of our journey or not so healthy customer, and many more things which were coming through. And in each of these items, whenever it was coming, we used to say that, okay, this is how we are going to disrupt the industry. But in reality, if we were to say what has happened over the last 2 decades or so, the first block, if you now in hindsight would want to put across, we were moving to basic era, a basic level of digitization. The second block, which is predominantly from the year 13 to 20, we can now very safely say that we have been able to transform the industry. But what's going to happen next? And that's something which is very interesting. And if we are able to follow that through really well, the whole objective and the mission and vision of Insurance for All by 2047 should not be far away in becoming a true set of reality. So if we look across what's going to happen next in digital disruption, our view and our take on is that data and tech will get significantly embedded. Today you might have strategies where you speak about data separately, you speak about tech separately, but as we are going to really move forward, data and tech is going to come in the same breath of conversation which we're going to have. And most importantly, as we move forward, from conversations which are mass-based, cohort-based, will have to become individual-based. And there is going to be significant amount of hyper-personalization which has got to be baked in as we go to move forward. Now we are saying that digital disruption is there, and for us moving to that path where embedded tech and data and hyper-personalization is very, very important. Why is it important? Why do we feel that this is important? And this is something which I want to talk about, right? Most of the people who are there in the room can evaluate whether you're distributors or part of the insurance sector, companies. The consumer expectations are significantly changing. We heard the chairman talking about that There was a time, there continues to be a time where motor insurance, largely bread and butter product for the industry, is significantly mandatory. But if you look across at today's customer, and I can tell you very, very safely that in the digital domain, almost 1/4 plus of the insurance policies which are around motor insurance are getting onto the new constructs of pay as you drive or pay how you drive. So there is a significant change which the customers are seeking as we are moving forward. Data is exploding. Honestly, there was a point in time where if you could just get one data set, we used to applaud ourselves that, okay, we have got something that is very, very disruptive, and we have got some knowledge which is extremely helpful for us. For example, when Vahan data started to be available, to be made available to the insurance companies, everyone said that, okay, we have hit a gold mine. And now our ability to identify where to market ourselves really well, what are the products to curate, will become far sharper. But if we go a little deeper, the amount of data which is available right now, and I'll talk a little bit about that, is humongous. And for any insurance player in the ecosystem, that's one area you have to be significantly glued up to. Protection, security, market trends, right? Cyber security, we heard Chairman sir speak about cyber security, title insurance, and many more things. There was a genuine research which we did a few months back as we were launching one of a new travel insurance product. And we realized that almost 10% of the people who are global travelers from India who are kind of moving abroad are kind of really facing some or the other threat, which emerges on the lines of cybersecurity. And we all know what's happening. Every now and then we hear about data sets have been leaked, some sites have been hacked across, somebody is attacking something on the cyber warfare. And hence, as we'll move forward, we have to realize that this is a very critical embedded reality of our lives as we move ahead. The workforces are changing. The way the workforce used to operate, the way the workforce currently operate. And to that, I can give an example again. I mean, we used to construct, and with a lot of people out here, we used to construct group health policies, right? And group health policies for employer-employee relationships were being constructed in a particular fashion. But as we are moving forward and we are seeing the whole sort of explosion on e-commerce, quick commerce, gig workers are becoming a big reality, right? Logistics suppliers are becoming a big reality. Now, the way you have to construct an insurance solution for this cohort is going to be very different from the way you have handled insurance solutions earlier. Hence, the workforce, the category, the styling of the workforce is significantly changing. And we have to think through that if we have to address that, do we really have the thinking might and muscle to be able to curate propositions for all of them as we kind of really think about it. New technology, modern tech, I think less spoken the better. Everyone talks about AI, everyone talks about Gen AI, deep learning, and so on and so forth. And all of these things are having real life use cases in today's construct. So the fact that we need to really bring in data and tech is kind of emerging out of these set of learnings which you're getting in the industry and in our day-to-day operations. How do we do that? And in my view, are we as an organization, these are some of the things which we have to be very cautious about. Think about it, emerging tech and data getting deployed to really lead the digital distribution wave. How it's going to happen? I think our strategies around data has to significantly change. There were days when we used to talk about data marts. There are days very recently where we have spoken about data lake. But how do you really have random data? How do you have tons and tons and loads of data coming through in a seamless fashion, unstructured fashion? And your ability to make sense, make insight of the unstructured data is going to be the call of the future. New age computing, very, very strong computing algorithms which are required so that we can leverage on the entire wave of AI and Gen AI technology which is out there. Because in case if we don't have these computing algorithms, if we don't have the computing abilities with us, our ability to deploy the AI and Gen AI tools will just be useless. So hence, how do we really go about it is going to be important. Cloud, we spoke about cloud. We have heard everyone talk about cloud, that we have migrated our infra to cloud. But is the cloud strategy going to be only about, let's say, an infra cost optimization or getting you more speed to business? No, there is a significant change which is happening out there. Your ability to create microservices on the go, your ability to create computing powers, your ability to deploy the AI, Gen AI, machine learning tools, I think cloud is going to become a very, very critical aspect of our operations as we're going to move forward. And last not the least out here is in terms of modern tech which is developing, the solutions around drones, the solutions around advanced IoTs, satellites being used in a large enough way in insurance operations. I think all these data points, all these aspects and tools are extremely important for us to give it a thought as we will walk that path of digital disruption. What I'll do now is possibly over the next few set of slides, give certain relevant set of use cases on how things are progressing. We spoke about data. Just to give a brief glimpse, and all these data points which are mentioned here are available in the public domain. It will depend on each of the individual companies or distribution setups to really think, how do you want to go about it? We know that India talks about 6.5 crore SMEs and MSMEs, right? Do we know where they are? And if we know where they are, do we know what is the kind of construct which is required to bring them into the insurance fold? Everyone talks that 85% plus of those SMEs, MSMEs are not there into the insurance fold. But have we thought about creating necessary ecosystem playbook out there? Have we thought about creating a cluster approach, looking at the category of SME and MSME, and then saying that, okay, we'll construct or create a solution which is going to be very, very relevant. Now imagine if you have some bit of that data with you, your ability to think through on that will be very, very deep. Financial data, even though the whole fact that the indirect tax and the GST libraries have got very solidified now, the processes have got streamlined. Do we use the GST data in any particular format, right? And again, a very simple set of example. We go to a particular aspect, to a particular client, and then we want to really understand a lot of things. Now imagine to your sales force, if you can give them a tool that, hey, this is a client you're going across, the GST numbers are available in the public domain. If this is the GST number, this is the kind of occupancy which the client is going to be really operating on. And if this is the kind of occupancy, then XYZ are the set of products you should talk about. So the conversation and the conversation strength which you start to have with your customers goes through a significant change. Rather than saying that, okay, what can we do for you? You walk across, have a seat on the table at that point in time and say that here are things which we'll be able to do for you. Now this is only possible because these databases you can bank up to. Consumer related and many more, right? This slide is just an inference point so as to say that there are so many open market data points which are available. In our strategy as we are progressing ahead, have we taken care to weave all of that in building the right risk management stroke distribution solutions for us to kind of really progress forward? What's also happening now, right? And we have Vishal here from PhonePe, and these guys are doing some phenomenal job, right? Vishal, with your permission, I'll kind of talk about it. We already always speak about motor insurance in a particular fashion. And what we end up doing, we talk about a price which is constructed related to a particular asset. We started to use surrogates. Surrogates whether that particular vehicle had an NCB or not. Surrogates whether that particular vehicle has got a particular line of experience on claims in the last few set of years. And then started to say for a similar cohort, what is that we can do to offer a price for a construct or a cohort of customers. With PhonePe, we said that, okay, let's try and do something different. And this possibly would be one of the ideas which could go on the sandbox filing. That is it time for the industry to move away from a cohort asset-based pricing to an individual-based pricing even in motor insurance? Now to do that, you have to do enough and more amount of data room exercises. And trust me guys, for the digital players who are leading the digital distribution disruption in the country, the amount of data room exercises which the industry is doing is just about exceptional. And this will only grow because right now we might be playing on 10 variables, 15 variables. But as we are going to move ahead, there could be 100 variables. Gone will be the days when people will talk about that this is an X% discount on a particular motor insurance policy. Because the algorithms, you will have very strong GLM models being deployed where I think the price to the customer will depend on how the customer is. And we'll have tech which will be able to read what is the quality of customer behavior which we are understanding of them and then curate products and solutions for them. We know about social media, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, etc., etc. You're able to curate a lot of data traits around the customer, right? And then using that back into curating solutions and so on. So data in net essence, data is the new oil, right? We have spoken about it, but the fact is that do you really know how to consume it is going to differentiate between one and the other. Some of the things which we have started to do and the industry is also starting to practice, how do you really structure the unstructured data? And when we say that structure the unstructured data, it doesn't mean that you can it out again, but how do you really design your algorithms to be able to read out the necessary variables from them? How do you deploy the actuarial assumptions around the data sets and then create and then use AI and predictive AI tools to be able to help you understand what is the solution you need to construct. Very recently, and a few of the people, if you would know, very recently we launched a new health insurance solution, which is called Elevate out there in the market. It has certain sort of hero features, but hero features are there to be copied. I mean, we copy from people, people will copy from us, right? But what we tried to do different with the product was we said that in the acquisition or in the journey where the consumer is buying the product or the partner is helping purchase a product for the customer, how will you use AI to be able to help the customer or the partner choose the right construct? And these are initial days, but we are finding great success on that. So here is a time which is now, and this, I think this is going to become the new sort of reality, that for all the partners, for all the customers, when you are interacting, do you have these tools at the back end which help you understand really well, and then looking at what you should have, then offer you a solution which makes a lot of sense, right? Now that was not something which would have been possible if we didn't have these AI tools which were available. And AI in itself, we can have a different conversation about how it kind of progresses and goes deep into the aspect. But the fact that some of us have started to use these tools, sorry, and as we move forward, the use cases of this will significantly improve and accelerate in the company. We should genuinely watch out what we want to do around here. AI and ML, another use case, and this is very interesting, right? आप लोग सब, you would be driving a private car two-wheeler, just with a raise of hand. Yeah, most of us would be doing that. I'll just give an example of look across at a description accident, right? कि मैं गाड़ी चला रहा था, सामने से एक ऑटो वाले ने मेरे को टक्कर मारा, जिसमें हमारी गाड़ी गिरकर डैमेज हो गई, और फ्रंट साइड से, and then there it goes on. What we did was, at the back end, we used a tool to be able to first convert the linguistic movement. So we were able to convert the Hindi into English. And then once we converted that, we used an algorithm so as to say that looking across at what the narrative is, what could be the potential parts which are getting damaged. Then we kind of really took the claim form and said that, okay, for the claim which has been submitted, what are the parts which are being there? And it's all happening in microseconds, right? Sorry. And this is the place where we then realize that, okay, there are possibly certain elements which are being claimed across, which we need to question a little more deeper. Just an example, right? Today, for us to do this now, it takes what? It takes hardly few seconds to be able to synthesize the data and come out with our actionables. And there was a point in time where if somebody in the organization would do that, we would celebrate him as a hero that, yes, we have found an outstanding performer. So imagine the outstanding performer who had practiced this over ages. Today, with help of technology, you're able to move forward in a lightning speed way. And these are some real set of applications which are coming forth. Multiply this. Generative AI. What's the larger difference? I mean, for a common man to understand. When you make the whole AI tool very, very hyper-personalized, we can say, and then if the tool is able to produce data, text, videos, in context to who you are as an individual, in context to the conversation which is happening with that individual, it's by and large in the era of generative AI. But then are there use cases which are kind of coming forth? There are enough and more. I'll give an example. Here we are talking to a customer, and the customer said that this was about an SME customer conversation. He said that this is my policy which I've been using. I have been advised by my risk manager stroke distributor to be able to do that. And if we really use this policy, we feel we are good to go. Now what you will do typically as a sales employee, you will take this policy, go back to your underwriter. Once you go back to your underwriter, he will create a proposal and go back to the client and say that this is what it is. We created a tool inside where we said we don't need to do anything. All what we need to do is on the bot just upload. So he can just upload his current set of policy. We'll be able to read the policy to the T and construct a proposal that like to like, this is what you should have. But then we don't stop there. We said this is something which is, let's say, an AI tool. Now what we do is we take certain elements from the policy, which are very unique, where I can have a lookup at the larger open market database. I would use those strings, take those strings, get some more data from open market, use my knowledge library, and create an on-the-go proposition to my client and say that while you are kind of going with this set of covers, we genuinely feel that here are item number 1, 2, and 3, which are missing in your policy. Will you want to cover this? Now imagine if you were to do this at scale, how do you really move around kind of doing and bringing the solutions to life? That's something which Gen AI kind of can bring in. Similarly, cloud solutions, and we spoke about it, I'll not kind of talk more about it, but the cloud using the microservices, high-level advanced computing, again, is going to be a game changer in the future. Last couple of slides in terms of modern tech, again, a real-life use case. We know about windmills, we know about solar panels, we know how complicated it is to insure them, because you don't know at that level, at that height, whether you can even do an inspection. Ability to use drones to inspect and give you real-time data feed in terms of whether you are good to go with the insurance or not is again becoming a real-time use case. Last slide, satellite data. And guys, I would genuinely recommend and urge you to watch out of what all is happening in the satellite domain. The ability of we consuming loads and loads of data and then kind of really making real-life use cases around it. I hope all of us heard about from the chairman speak about parametric solution, about the benefit-based product construct. One of the very important input variables parameter which is required to make that a reality is going to be our ability to read from the satellite data. There are weather stations, you get a lot of data from the weather station, but how can you consume the satellite data to be able to construct such and more such products in the future is again going to be a changing dimension. As I end, I think for sure we can safely presume, and with some bit of example, that technology is going to drive disruption. Disruption is going to be extremely, extremely important for all of us to be glued with the vision for insurance for everyone in our country by 2047. And I'll just like to close my quote that there will be no smartphones in the future, and Elon Musk says that instead the future will be dominated by neural links. Imagine when we had feature phones getting into smartphones itself or something. And now here is the fact that people are talking about that smartphones is going to be a thing of the past. So that's the power of technology, that's the power of disruption. And I'm sure that we'll use the data and tech-led disruption in the most positive way to be able to walk across in the path where we say that insurance for all by 2047 will become a reality sooner than what we have planned for. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.